Okay, so what is the deal with cervical position and how can that help you in your fertility? Hey, it's me, Steph, from yourfertileself.com, and that is exactly what I am here to talk to you about today. Cervical position is the third major sign that we monitor when we're tracking our fertility, along with basal body temperature charting and cervical fluid. I've already made videos about basal body temperature and cervical fluid. If you haven't watched those yet, I encourage you to go back and take a look. They're here on this YouTube channel, but I'll also post the links below so you can check those out if you haven't yet. But today the focus is all about cervical position. All right, so what is cervical position? It is the position of your cervix, duh. So what does that mean exactly, and what can that tell you about your fertility? So basically, the underlying principle behind cervical position and tracking the position of your cervix throughout your cycle is the same as the underlying principle of checking out your cervical fluid. Basically, that is the position of your cervix will change throughout your cycle, just as the quality of cervical fluid does. The position of your cervix will change throughout your cycle, and what your position is, where your cervix is in your body, it will tell you different things about your fertility and kind of when you're in your fertile window and when to start having intercourse to try for a baby. So cervical position is long been considered kind of a more advanced fertility sign. It's optional. You don't really need to be tracking it. If you are tracking it and have a handle on how to do it, it can give you some good information about your fertility and basically corroborate what you're doing with your other signs. But it is optional. You don't need to be doing it. You can get everything that you need to know about your fertility from your basal body temperature and from your cervical fluids. So I'm here to tell you that if you are struggling with your cervical position, if you don't have a handle on that one, if you're kind of not really able to kind of get the hang of how to figure it out, it's okay. If you just keep at it, you probably will get it eventually, but you don't really need it right now. I actually, the entire time that I was trying to conceive my son, I was diligently tracking my basal body temperature. I was diligently tracking my cervical fluid. I actually kind of gave up on my cervical position because I found it so difficult and so confusing. And it wasn't until probably about a year ago, so long after I stopped long after my son was born. My son is almost 4 now, so long after he was born, about a year ago, I was, retrieving some cervical fluid, and all of a sudden, I felt my cervix, and it just kind of all came into place for me. It was just like a light bulb went off in my head. It was like, oh, this is what it's all about. So that might happen to you as well. And again, like I said, this was long after my journey to conceive had come to an end. So if you don't really need to be doing it right now if you're having a hard time, and just keep at it, and eventually it will probably come to you. So as I said, the position of your cervix will change throughout your cycle, and we track the position of our cervix to try to learn a little bit more about kind of where we are in our cycle, if we're in our fertile time or not. Basically, the characteristics of the cervical position are different during the non-fertile time of our cycle and the fertile time of our cycle. So we feel for the position of our cervix to kind of help us make a determination if we're in our fertile window or not. So it's a little bit more subjective. It's a little bit, it just takes a little bit longer to get a handle on how to do it. Basically, though, what you need to know is this. When you are not in your fertile window, when you're not in your fertile time, your cervix is going to be low, it's going to be firm, and it's going to be closed. When you are in your fertile window, i.e. when you want to be having intercourse to try for a baby, your cervix will be high, it will be soft, and it will be open. That is like basically what you need to know, and that opens up a whole other set of questions. Okay, so how do I know if my cervix is low versus high? What does a soft cervix feel like? What does a firm cervix feel like? How do I know if my cervix is soft? How do I know if it's firm? How do I know if it's high? How do I know if it's closed? And that is why this sign is a little bit more challenging. unlike, I mean, it's a little more subjective. So unlike your basal body temperature and your cervical fluid, which are a little more cut and dry. So basically, like with your basal body temperature, you take your temperature every day, you take the thermometer out of your mouth, your temperature is right there on the thermometer, you see it, the number's there, you write it down, it's cut and dry, you can see it, it's very simple. It's very simple. Your cervical fluid, you retrieve your cervical fluid and you can look at it right on your finger. You can see it. You can see its qualities. You can tell if it's fertile quality cervical fluid or not. It's right there. It's right in front of you. It's also pretty cut and dry. Cervical position, on the other hand, is much more subjective. You do it in the same way that you check for cervical fluid. You take your finger and you stick it up your vagina and you feel around for your cervix and you observe the quality of what you feel. Now, sometimes it can take you a little while to even find your cervix, to even really know what you're feeling for. And then it can take you, once you kind of figure out where your cervix is, then it can take you a little bit more time to figure out, what a soft cervix feels like, what a firm cervix feels like. And it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. So it just might take you, just a little bit of time to kind of figure out what those characteristics are for you. And that is why this fertility sign is a little bit more advanced, a little more challenging. Notice I didn't say difficult, because once you figure it out, it's actually quite easy. It just takes a little bit more time to figure it out. But in a nutshell, a cervix during the non-fertile time is firm, low, and closed. And during the fertile time, your cervix is high, it is soft, it is open. Now, the reason for this is part of it is the function of your cervix. Your cervix will be closed during the non-fertile time because it acts as sort of a plug for your uterus. It's protecting your uterus. It's protecting your uterus from, foreign substances going in there, bacteria, infection, germs. It's one of its primary functions is to keep your uterus safe and healthy. So it's going to be closed most of the time to protect your uterus from bacteria and foreign substances. Now, when you enter your fertile window, your cervix, your uterus, your cervix will open. It will rise and it will open and it will be soft. And those are all characteristics for inviting sperm into the uterus to make its way up to the fallopian tube to fertilize your eggs. So that is why your cervix kind of opens during the fertile time to invite the sperm in, but it's going to be closed the rest of the time of your cycle. So basically, as I said, during your non-fertile time, which is most of the time in your cycle, your cervix is going to be low, it's going to be firm, and it's going to be closed. So what does this feel like? Again, it's going to be a little bit different for everybody, this, kind of nitty-gritty specifics. But in general, during the non-fertile time, your closed, firm, low cervix is going to feel like the tip of your nose. So go ahead and take your finger right now and just put it on your nose and observe what you feel. It feels kind of firm. There's some flesh, there's some movement of flesh, but it's overall pretty firm. It's knobby. You've got this big bone right here. It's kind of knobby, and it's just overall very, very, very firm. Again, it moves, but it's firm. So that is kind of generally what a non-fertile time cervix will feel like. So if you put your finger in your vagina and you reach up and you kind of feel this like knob, that's your cervix, and it's not your fertile time. So now when you move into your fertile time, your cervix is going to be softer. It's going to be soft and, open, and it's going to be high. So the first thing you're probably going to notice is when you put your finger in your vagina to feel for your cervix is you're going to have to reach up further to feel it. So that's a sign right there that it's a little higher and you are moving into your fertile window. This cervix during this time of your cycle is going to feel more like your lips. It's going to feel more like the tips of your lips. So it's going to be hard for me to do this, to demonstrate this and talk at the same time. But put your fingers kind of on your lips and observe how that feels. It's soft, it's very fleshy, and it kind of moves around. And feel how that feels different than the tip of your nose. So this is, if you are putting your finger in your vagina and feeling up for your cervix, and you're reaching higher, first of all, to get there, and then it feels kind of more like this, more soft and fleshy, that's telling you that you're in your fertile window. And that's a great time to start trying to have intercourse, for trying to have a baby. So again, non-fertile, fertile. And that's really all you need to know. And once you get the hang of kind of knowing where your cervix is and knowing that that's what you're feeling, it's actually quite easy to feel for your cervix every day, and to make help you make a determination of whether or not you're in your fertile window. So again, this is kind of the non-fertile cervix, feels more like the tip of your nose, and the fertile cervix, which feels more like the tips of your lips, more soft and fleshy. So I hope this has been helpful. Cervical position is definitely one that's going to require a little bit more persistence for you in kind of gaining confidence in how to do it. But again, just like your cervical fluid, you're just going to take your finger and stick it up your vagina and observe the quality of what you feel. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, I look forward to hearing from you. Please feel free to comment below. Get in touch with me. You can send me an email at stephanie@yourfertileself.com. And I'm always looking for wonderful women to join my Facebook group also. I have a group on Facebook called Path to Your Fertile Self, where we talk all about our fertility signs and help each other in deciphering what our signs are telling us. So would love to have you join over there. So thank you so much for being with me today, and I'll talk to you again sometime soon. Bye-bye.